In this lesson, we'll continue our review of Math Test 10, Section 4, Calculator Primitive. We're now on question 20, a little bit further into the section, so the questions get more challenging. All right, 20, the maximum value of a data set consisting of 25 positive integers is 84. A new data set consisting of 26 positive integers created by including 96 in the original data set. Which of the following measures must be 12 greater for the new data set than the original data set? So all we really know is we're adding one number to the original set of 25, and that number was 96. And previously, the maximum was 84. And so the only definitive conclusion we can make is that the range has increased by 12, right? We don't know nothing about the mean or the median. You should recognize that to increase the mean even by 1 with 25 numbers, you've got to add 25 plus the new number. So we need to increase it by 12. So that's not even close. Same with the median. We just don't know enough, but you should see that we're not increasing these by 12. And so the answer is just this, the range, C. All right, let's take a look at 21. Clayton will mix X milliliters of a 10% by mass saline solution with Y milliliters of a 20% by mass saline solution in order to create an 18% by mass saline solution. The equation above represents the situation if Clayton uses 100 milliliters of the 20% by mass saline solution. How many milliliters of the 10% by mass saline solution does he use? So here's the formula, and we know that X represents the 10% by mass solution and Y is the 20, and here we're given 100 is the value of the 20. So whenever we see the Y, we can just plug in 100, and then the question's asking to solve for the 10%, which is the X. So I'm just going to substitute 100 for Y, and so I have 0.1 X. 0.2 times 100 is 20, and you could use your calculator. We should be able to figure that out. And now we have to distribute, so that's going to be 0.1x, 0.18x, and 100 times 0.18 is 18. And I will subtract 18 from both sides, so on this side I just have a 2. And here, be careful with the decimal point. You could use your calculator if you want. This is going to be 0.18. We're subtracting 0.1. That's going to be 0.08x. And again, use your calculator, but you could also move the decimal over 2 points, so that'd be 8x equals 200, and x is 25. So the answer is B. And let's go up to 22. The first year, Eleanor organized a fundraising event. She invited 30 people. For each of the next 5 years, she invited double the number of people she invited the previous year. If F of n is the number of people invited to the fundraiser n years after Eleanor began organizing the event, which of the following statements best describes the function of F? And so this is a common question. We just have to identify if it's increasing or decreasing. Is it linear or exponential? And we know if it's linear, it has to be a consistent increase or change each period. This is obviously not consistent because she's doubling the number of people she invites every year. And so if you think about it, let's say she invited 10 the first year, and then it'd be 20, and then it'd be 40, and then you see that this is certainly not linear. It's increasing at a much faster rate because it's doubling. And so this is exponential and it's increased. So a pretty straightforward question for number 22. The answer is D. And let's do one last question on this page. So again, this test is a little bit different. It's the same test, but it's organized a little differently. So I'm only doing the questions from the book that are on this page. And so even though there's one question right next to it, 23 is the last question on the page. So I'm just going to do this one and stop the video. Some values of X and Y and their corresponding values of Y are shown in the table above, where A is a constant. If there's a linear relationship between X and Y, which of the following equations represents this relationship? And so this is another common question. We're given a series of values for X and Y. We're told it's linear. We want to find the equation. First step is always finding the slope. And we know the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It doesn't matter which values you pick, you just have to be consistent. And so I'm going to go this way. Here's my y, I'm going to go this way. So for the top, I have negative a minus 0, and then 3a minus a. And so here's my slope. It's going to be negative a over 2a divided in a, so it's really just negative 1/2. That's our slope. And so if we start our equation, we know it's going to be y equals negative 1/2 x plus b. The last step is how do we find the b? Well, anytime we're given values that satisfy the equation that are on this line, we can just plug them in. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to plug in these first set. I'm going to plug in 0 for y and a for x. Okay, so this is going to be 0, and I get negative 1/2 a. Just because it's a variable, nothing changes. This is the value for x now, and plus b. And so I now will add 1/2 a to each side. So b is, it's just a over 2, right? 1/2 a. So here's our b. So now, last step to get the equation, I'll just write it over here. We have y, we can go back to x and y now. We have y equals negative 1/2 x plus a over 2. And if you look at the choices over here, we don't see that, but let's multiply it by 2 because we see a single a here. If we multiply everything by 2, then we get 2y equals negative x plus a. And now we're getting closer. It looks like a, right? Because now we can add x to both sides. So a equals 2y plus x. And so the answer is a.